ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Brothers and sisters, today's halaqah is an open halaqah where we will have a random topic and we will change topic from time to time. These halaqat will be on important topics that are worth discussing, talking about, and at the same time, these halaqat will be short, inshallah, so that people can benefit in a simple and straightforward way. Today, inshallah, we'll speak about Salatul Jama'ah, praying together in congregation. This is something that many people are not actually taught. They just learn or figure it out themselves, when in reality it should be something that is taught, because when you pray by yourself and when you pray together with others, there are slight differences and there are certain things that a person needs to keep in mind. So inshallah today, hopefully we'll be going over some of the mistakes or points that people often neglect or forget. One of the major points is in terms of praying in jama'ah, when in group, there are going to be sufuf, lines and rows. What happens is, if a person is not careful, the row or the line that they're standing in becomes a little bit crooked. One person might stand a little bit too forward, another person stands a little bit back, and instead of the line being as straight as possible, what happens is people neglect it and it becomes a little bit crooked. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ would actually advise against. The Prophet ﷺ, when people would line up for the prayer, he would remind them, make sure that your lines are straight, line up, because lining and keeping the rows straight, it is from the completion of the salah. So, and this applies both to men and women. So when it comes to the men's rows, they should be as straight as possible. And similarly with the women's rows. Another point is that people usually don't pay close attention when it comes to standing close to each other. Obviously, now with the whole COVID situation, things are a little bit different. However, the foundation is that when we stand together in jama'ah, people stand as close as possible. Not a closeness that makes it difficult, but a closeness that does not leave any open gaps. So you don't have to push against the person that's standing next to you so that they stand in a very small space. No, but what needs to be done is that any openings are closed. So some of the ulama, the fuqaha, they have different understanding. Some of them, they say what needs to be joined is the feet, the ankles, and the shoulders, whereas some of the scholars, they say no, as long as the shoulders are touching, then this is what makes the rows complete, leaving no gap. What is important is to put in that effort to make sure that the rows do not have any gaps. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about the people who stand up in prayer, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to them in the same way that the people who go out for jihad, standing up for what is right, كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصٌ, as if they are a building that is fortified, that is complete, there's no gaps, there's nothing that can penetrate it. Another point worth mentioning and emphasizing on is that when you're praying by yourself, you are the Imam. When you are praying with others, there might be a chance that you are not the Imam. So what needs to be done in the case that you are not the Imam leading is for you to make sure that you follow the Imam in their movement. In other words, make sure to not be faster or quicker than the Imam. Some people, as soon as the Imam is finished and is going into ruku', you will see them go even before the Imam. And this is a big problem when it comes to prayer. The scholars have said not only is it a problem if you go before the Imam, but even if you were to go at the same time as the Imam, if you go at the same time or quicker than the Imam, then it becomes an issue. So what do you need to do? You need to wait. And when the Imam says Allahu Akbar, once he said Allahu Akbar, then you say Allahu Akbar, and so on. So this is a point that is very, very important. A sub-point along with this is when it comes especially to the men, when you line up praying with the Imam, it is very important that you do not stand in front of the Imam. That you do not stand in front of the Imam in your prayer. Because if you stand in front of the Imam, then that salah is not accepted from you. Usually there's no problem the way the masajids are built and so on, but if you look at the Kaaba as an example in Mecca, if the Imam stands a little bit back, then everyone has to move with the Imam. Everyone has to move with the Imam. So the Imam decides whether the salah is going to be up at the Kaaba or further back. One thing that inshallah we'll address in a future khutbah for Jum'ah, but we'll touch on a little bit here, is that it is actually haram to come to the masjid whilst having a bad smell. Many of the scholars have said this is not acceptable because it causes harm to those who are at the masjid, those who are praying. Right? And the Prophet ﷺ said, many scholars they say this is shows Halaqah, that it is makruh for a person who's eaten an onion or something that has a very strong smell for them to come to the masjid. And many of the scholars they say today what would be similar to that is smoking. So if a person smokes, which they shouldn't be, then they need to take extra care when they come to the masjid, because that smell might bother people at the masjid. So generally, it also refers to taking a shower and being clean as a Muslim, that you don't wait for too long. We don't have to take a shower once a week. You try to take more showers, especially on Fridays. You try to come in a nice, with a nice appearance. And finally, inshallah, we'll conclude with this, is that we often neglect prayer in Jama'ah. And we don't realize that once you pray in Jama'ah, then there's more ajr, there's more reward in praying Not only that, but praying Jama'at at the masjid, it will require you to walk or to drive to the masjid. So all that time and all that effort that you put in is rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it is easier, far easier for a person to pray at home, but for men at least, they should try their best to pray. Many of the scholars, when they were asked, how far away can the masjid be? They say as long as the person hears the adhan, and this is based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where there was a man who complained saying that it was difficult for him. The Prophet ﷺ told him you can pray at home, and just as the man was sleeping, he called him back and he said, "Do you hear the adhan? Do you hear the adhan?" And the man said yes. And the Prophet ﷺ told the man, then you have to answer the call, meaning coming to the masjid. So these are things that are all tied into Salatul Jama'ah. And inshallah, in the coming few classes, we'll touch on more things that we can all improve on, inshallah. And if anyone has any questions, now is the time to ask. Since we're not doing any, we're not doing through the Zoom, any questions will inshallah be postponed until next Thursday, inshallah. So we'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.